It's official. In mid-March, President Obama will visit the Castros in Cuba, presumably to surrender in person. This will be the first time since 1928 that the sitting President of the United States is visiting the rogue island nation. The visit, which was announced on Twitter, comes just over a year since Obama's diplomatic surrender to the tiny communist country, reversing 50 years of policy put in place to combat the oppression of the Cuban people.
The Cuban government remains as repressive as ever, but now they have access to millions, if not billions of dollars in resources.
My hope is that Cuba will be free one day, and that's when the president should be going there.
His policy concerning Cuba and Iran both have parallels where he's allowing billions of dollars to go to tyrants who hate America.
With Obama's controversial surrender to the Castro regime went concessions that have allowed the dictators to further oppress the Cuban people and embolden them to crack down even more on any opposition to their power, sparking a migrant crisis 90 miles off the coast of Florida. The United States Coast Guard is reporting a surge in the amount of refugees trying to reach Florida on dangerous makeshift vessels. Many of these migrants find a way to harm themselves just prior to being taken into custody in the hopes that it will lengthen their stay in the U.S. Barack I tried to put a positive spin on his actions, calling it, quote, significant progress, unquote, for the Cuban people, even though the only change that has occurred is a significant increase in arrests of members of Cuban organizations that are pro-liberty. According to the humanitarian group People in Need, quote, there has been no substantial improvement in regard to human rights and individual freedoms on the island. The Cuban government has adapted its repressive methods in order to make them invisible to the scrutinizing, judgmental eyes of the international community, but it has not reduced the level of pressure or control over the opposition, unquote. Clearly, there hasn't been significant progress for the Cuban people as Obama claims. In fact, the situation is worse. History proves, as does the Obama administration, appeasing a dictator never brings about freedom and liberty, and surrendering to an enemy isn't the way to effect positive change.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and donate at theraywarnershow.com.